I've got a cute little project here for you today. This one the kids will love, adults will love it too. It's such an easy one to do. We've got Easter coming up, we've got Mother's Day coming up. Let's show you how to make these. So very simply done, you just need a piece of A4 felt size green felt. That green felt, if you don't have felt, don't worry, just get some green cloth for the stems and the leaves. Then you need 3 pieces of cloth. Now I have 3 blues here. In here I went for a pink purple theme. Here I'm going for a sort of a blue theme. So just 3 pieces of scrap. These are quite big pieces. I'll show you in a moment. You'll need some stuffing, and to give the tulips some stability, I've used some coffee stirrers. Now I picked them up in the coffee shop when I was visiting last time. So got myself a few there. And if you can, you may be able to do this with a straw and a stick, but I've got some of these tube turners. I think I picked them up on Amazon, and they're very inexpensive, but they prove to be so useful in the sewing den. Let's get started. The seam magnet guide is going to sit along the distance on the sewing line that I want to follow, and I'm going to follow 2 centimetres. My stems are all 2 centimetres wide, and what you do is just simply fold over your fabric like that. Now if it's for children, pop some pegs on there that will hold it for them. So I have my little basket of goodies that I keep aside for the children. So let's fold that over, pop a peg in there, and pop a peg in there. If you're a beginner sewer, this is great for you as well. Let's just lift up the presser foot and then pop that down. Okay, now all I'm going to do is keep the fabric against the wall of the seam magnet guide, and I'm just going to sew along there. I'll lock the stitches, so 3 forward, 3 back, and then just follow. Now stop when you get to the peg, remove that peg. Otherwise what will happen is you'll end up with wobbly lines. If you're confident without the pegs, go for it. Don't go all the way. We're going to remove our seam guide, we're going to turn the fabric, and we're going to just sew, so pivot there and sew to the end. So we end up making not just a tube, but a closed tube. So lock that there and remove that. Can you see what we've done? So I've ended up with a tube like that. Grab some scissors and let's cut that away. So cut close to your seam. Now I'm using paper scissors here, so I'm going to struggle a little bit there. When you get to the corner, trim that corner away close to the seam but not the seam, and there we go, we end up with that. Now I'm going to do 2 more, so pop your magnet guide back on that too. Let's fold our fabric over and let's make 2 more. 2, 3 back and 3 forward. Just remove that and let's just cut again. Let's cut close to the seam so that we have less bulk to turn. Okay, cut close to the corner there. Let's cut that way and let's just get rid of our mess. So the way we turn these round is with the tube turner. Pop this in the, so pop the pipe into the stem and then push your stick into the fabric, the closed end. Now if you want to, you can add stuffing at this point. Let's grab the stuffing. So just pop a bit of stuffing in there, push it down, pop some more in there, and at this point I'm going to start adding, so I've got a little bit of a soft bottom to my stem, and at this point I'm going to add my stick if I don't drop it on the floor. So add the stick and push that. Now can you see how it goes through? Be careful with these sticks, it's thin balsa wood. so it might struggle, and then just as you're pushing it down, push the fabric up. So push that down, push the fabric up at the same time, add a little bit more stuffing. And then continue on up, a bit more stuffing. Oops. And there we go. You don't want to overstuff it if you have a stick in there. And there we go. There's our stem, and it's nice and rigid, so it will hold our tulip up for us. So let's make, I'll do the other two, and then I'll also show you now how to do the tulip itself. Now, if you want a guide of how big to make it, I bought myself some fat quarters. Let's put that to the side so I can show you roughly how big I've made these. So here's a fat quarter here, and all I've done is open it up, and this is half a fat quarter because I've cut some of it away, and it's folded up into segments like that. So I've just cut away, split it up and cut away at the creases. So I ended up with two pieces like that. Now make sure your fabric, if it's an all-way design, you get away with it. But if it's one-way design, make sure you cut them the right way. And because this is a little bit smaller than the piece I've used, the tulips on here are going to be a little bit smaller, like there. So all I've done is fold in half. I'll make a template for you, and I'll put it in the description below. So follow that description, the link, and you can create the tulips using a template. But if you're not needing a template, this is basically what you're doing. It's just creating a longer distance at the top of your tulip and a smaller one at the base. Let's get rid of that. And you end up with a tulip shape like that. If I cut the same one out, using that template, and again, just look down at the link below, and I'll pop a couple there for you. So can you see how little fabric you actually need? And I'll cut this one out. Okay, so we're going to sew this together now. So I want to have the right sides together because we'll have the seams on the inside of our tulip. If you want to use a peg, do that just to hold your fabric in place so it doesn't move. And again, this is much easier if you are struggling or you're new. So let's place that down. Let's lock the stitches. Remember to lock the stitches 3 stitches forward. Let's go a bit slower. Remove that peg as you come to it, but hold your fabric down, let it go round, and get ready to lock stitch at the end. So we're going to stop. So stop at the end and let's lock. 1, 2, 3, backwards. And there we go. So that's our nice seam done. First, using that seam guide has helped me make sure I get a nice even seam. Okay, so now we've made the tulip and we have our stem. What I would like you to do is feel for where the stick is, so I can feel the end of my stick there. I'm going to push this into the widest side of the tulip, into the narrowest side. So between the 2 layers, push it through, and I'm going to bunch up the fabric here. So push the stick through, make sure it's nice and central. I want to feel some of that stick poking through. Then bunch up the fabric over, so I'm pleating it over that side, and I'm going to pleat it over on that side, like that, so it stays in the center. Now don't be frightened, most machines can do this. We've tried it on our LS14s and we were capable of making these flowers. I want you to sew over that wood. Now it's because it's the coffee stick stirrers, they're made of a very lightweight wood. And because it's not plastic, this fabric and this tulip will become biodegradable. We want to use as little plastic as possible. So let's go over that. If you need to push the stick a little bit, do that. Let's lock that stitch, and that worked fine. Great. Okay, so that's our tulip. We're going to push that through, and there we go. And because we've got some of that stick inside the tulip, when we stuff around it, it will help keep the tulip sitting upright as well. So let's do that. Let's push some of this stuffing in there. So make sure I'm going to grab some of that stuffing all the way around and keeping that stick. I can feel it with my thumb as I push, and I'm pushing the stuffing all around the outside of that stick, making sure the stick stays in the middle like that. Now, I'm really sorry, but this part involves some hand sewing, and I know not everybody's a big fan of that, but it's quite nice and relaxing. So let's go and grab a needle and thread. Right, let me show you how to create the tulip effect on your flowers. So I've got myself a needle and thread. Now the thread is 2 lengths of thread all the way down, and I've tied a knot at the end, and that helps it to be a nice stronger thread. So pinch and fold the 2 seam ends, and when you pop your fingers in and stretch, what happens is it all folds in on itself. So I'm pinching and holding at the same time, and I'm going to just push the needle through one of the seams there, and then to the opposite side in the seam there. And when I pull, what will happen is the 2 bits that I was pinching before spread out like that. And I'm going to secure this in the middle. So I'll go in a couple of times like that. And then I'll go through the loop to give myself a nice secure knot there. Then I'll do the same with the 2 pinched sides there. So needle through that side. I'm going to just pop my finger in there, and you'll see in a minute why. And I'll push the needle through that side as well. Just push my finger in there. And can you see I've pushed out the corners to create that tulip effect. So pinch there between them, and I'm going to just tie that through. If you go through your loops, you can give that a nice secure knot. So try and keep your stitches nice and small. Just pull on that thread and tease them out, and I create a nice tulip. Okay, I've just drawn a leaf shape on 3 layers of felt, which I'm cutting out. I'll add these to the template in the link below. Now, if you don't want to do hand stitching, you can do this on the machine. It's very soft wood. So just wrap the leaf around the stem, a bit low down from the tulip itself, and then I'm just going to place that underneath there. Keep the wood flat, and we'll just do a few stitches in the same place, and that will be fine. And I'll lock that there, and it's enough to hold the leaf in place, but there's only a couple of stitches there, which is plenty. Put these together and lay them. And just tie a pretty bow. I hope that was useful. Like and subscribe, and let me know if any more kids tutorials will be helpful to you. Take care.